All right, guys, welcome back to Overtime with Nast and Riggs, episode number 9. Don't adjust your screens. He gets this a lot. He looks a lot like The Rock, but this is actually the man, PJ Stock. Thank you for joining us, Stalker. I know you get that a lot. If you had tattoos, it'd be over. Luckily, you have some hair too. I think it is the hair, but the physique, like
totally.
whoa. As soon as you came on, I'm like, wow.
Yeah. It's lighting, you know that. It's all about the angles. And
yeah, right.
Smoke and mirrors, right?
I haven't been able to find a good angle for me yet, and the lighting either. Baller, get on that, bro. Stalker, what's going on, man? How are you, brother?
Oh, man, life is great. I'm up in Montreal. Just probably watched one of the greatest football weekends ever.
Yes.
Hockey's sports are at a good time right now, but I don't know what's going on with COVID. I think that's kind of slowing down, picking up. I don't know what's going on, but I'm happy. I'm healthy up here in Montreal. A little bit of good news, like my mom kind of had COVID, so that was like the big concern.
Oh boy!
And then through it, so that's
good
that's
for
the
her.
world
Thank
we're
God.
living in right now, right? Yeah. So now I'm happy. I'm good.
Yep.
Let's party. Let's go.
I know.
Right?
Miles looks good. Miles looks fantastic.
Yeah, I had COVID last Saturday for 24 hours and a little backache, a little fatigue, and I'm good to go, Stalker. So
I had it over Christmas.
Did you? Yeah.
Same idea. Yeah, your body shut down. Nah, it's a 24 to 48 hour flu is the way. We're lucky, right? It could
Right.
be.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's what I had, and kind of like a high fever for a night. But besides that, yeah, I think it made me taller.
You look a little
Made you
taller.
buffer, too. You
Yeah.
know,
Well, this guy's jacked. I mean, that's why do you think people think it's The Rock when he comes walking around? Well, you can't go anywhere up where you're at anyway. But
yeah, right.
seeing you on TV and that.
I'm on lockdown.
Yeah, I know.
I'm on lockdown. What a mess.
It's a mess, man. You're not kidding. Buddy, so thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you. Talk a little bit about, I know you're up in Montreal, but I know you've seen kind of the mess the Flyers are in these days. From what you've seen and, working in TV and stuff, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, first off, it's hard. When you end up changing coaches mid-year, there's so many different angles you can take at this. They haven't been healthy all year. Haven't been healthy all year, and that's the first thing, because we all do comparables at the start of the season and see, okay, if we match up this line against that line. We kind of everyone thought this was going to be a great year for Philadelphia, the way they finished last year, the Flyers, the way they were going to go into this year with comparables in the division. And then you have, Pittsburgh take off, Rangers take off, Carolina being Carolina, and Washington being Washington. But you thought Philly was going to be, and the Islanders for that matter, were going to be in that mix. And everyone was thinking we're going back to the eight teams from the conference. 5 were going to come out of that division. That's how everyone else was thinking it. And now it's just injury bug and lots of craziness in Philly. But one thing it kind of, and this has nothing to do with Philadelphia, but I just find it could have something to do with it. But it's hard when you change your coaches midterm to get rid of everybody, but kind of keep the one lone guy left to be like, I know you were here before and it kind of wasn't working with you before, but kind of, can you keep this together for the next so little, can you get us back going? And if it didn't work really before, it's hard on that guy to try and win that room back over, no matter how great he is. And Mike Yeo, I don't know him, but I've heard nothing but amazing things about him.
Yeah,
I'm just
guy.
saying, when you get to the point where the players are that beaten down mentally and it costs the coach a job, it's hard to fire those guys back up.
Yeah.
It's hard to fire those guys back up. So Mike, who could have been in that room and trying to do it before, he still could be trying to, and the message could be better, but it's hard unless you almost go with a completely change where guys could come in and have a completely new identity, new thought process, looking at something completely new, and maybe that can rejig things. But it's hard. There's not too many teams that end up losing their coach mid-season, come back by keeping someone and be like, hey, let's turn things around now and make a run for it. So add the injuries in, and again, this resurgence of Pittsburgh, of Carolina, Washington, and New York. It's been a tough division.
Yeah, I agree with your thoughts on the coach mid-season. There was a lot of rumblings around here when the coach did get fired there, AV, and John Tortorella's name come up and Rick talking. We're kind of crossing our fingers, let's get Torts in here, and you know what I mean, and turn this thing around and light some fires. And I've never really seen teams do that well. To your point, with like an interim head coach or someone, the coach that's been the assistant to take over. Never really see that being ultra successful throughout time. So I agree with that. It was kind of the same. They went on like a 7-game point streak there, but a lot of winnable games coming off a 10-game losing streak. But now they're back on a 12-game losing streak going into the 13th game. Yeah,
12.
12. Yeah, tonight's they tied the record for 12 game losing streak. So today,
there's so much talent.
So much talent. Yeah.
Is this the? I know they didn't want to talk about during the year, but is it finally cut cords with Claude Giroux? Like, is this the year where you have to look at where you are. Yep. Philly has to look at where they are. They have to look at how are they getting. The Rangers are like going like this. All right, they're going like this. Carolina's going to go like this. Washington is kind of fluttering around there a little, but they're still on that upward rise. New Jersey's the youngest team in the league. They have some talent there, but I don't know. But they're still ahead of Philly. Islanders, they're well coached. Really weird start to their season on the road and the building and all kinds of stuff. But how is Philly going to get themselves back on track? What can they go out and get to make themselves better? So many injuries. They need to do something. And who has value? Who has a ton of value? It's hard. It's hard. Like, I don't think Pittsburgh's ever going to get rid of a Malkin or maybe a Letang or maybe a Crosby. But they're kind of at the edge of that runway with that superstar core. You don't want to get rid of them because it's a franchise. But if you want to rebuild the franchise, you got to kind of move someone to kind of get some pieces. So it's going to be interesting what happens with Claude Giroux or some of those big dogs there.
Yeah, I think you're totally correct, Stalker. The thing here in Philadelphia is, when Hexie came in, his idea was to rebuild, and we went through those 4 to 5 years where he did. He was doing that. He was not, offering a lot of big contracts to big name players. Kind of went with the core group that we had, and then a lot of young guys and making deals. Traded a few players away, Braden Shen. In turn, you have Joel Farabee on this team now, so it's hard to even criticize that at all. At the time, we're like, why are we getting rid of a guy that scores close to 30 goals? But his long-term goal was to have a core group of young kids come up together.
Right.
But when you're kind of rebuild, and we did make the playoffs 2 out of the 4.5 years he was here, not with great teams, but they played hard and they made the playoffs, never got past the first round. Now you're turning just a couple years later, you're saying rebuild again. You can't rebuild overnight, right? So in Philadelphia, it's not people are saying blow it up, but like you have to realize how long it's going to take. And we've been mediocre for a while now in Philadelphia.
I think, this is where the salary cap kind of ruins it. Everyone loves the salary cap because we're all on the same playing field, but this is what makes it so hard. You can't turn things around. To rebuild it, you have to. It goes back to the draft. You got to teams with money and teams that help drive the revenues in this league, and those are the teams that I think the league needs to be successful. And if they're willing to, I think there's a certain window where there could be somewhat of a luxury tax. I'm not saying like baseball where it's ridiculous, where teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox pay more in taxes than half the teams in the league.
Yeah, right.
But I'm just saying, hypothetically, I'll just use a simple number for people's listening. Let's say it's 100 is the max, and let's say 75 is the minimum. You have to be in that window. But if you want to spend to, let's say, 120, you pay, 5 cents on the first million, on the first 5 million, 10 cents on. It still gives you a certain window where the teams like the Rangers, the Flyers, the Canadians, the Leafs, the Hawks, the Kings, everyone wants to see Nashville do well. Everyone wants to see these it's just they don't drive TV, they don't drive revenue, right? And by taxing some of those teams, you can help the Floridas of the world, you can help the Nashvilles, you can help the Arizonas, you can help some of those teams that are struggling. But some years you have those teams that aren't expected to do well, but it should be, if teams are willing to spend a tad more and pay a price and help the league, they have to find a way to kind of help drive the bus a little, because it's unfortunate to have a team like Philadelphia not pass the first round in so long. Teams like the Canadians, besides last, the Leafs never in there it's hard, and it's hard on the financial aspect of the game as well for the owners.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
All my points are great, Pete.
I don't know how I didn't know that. I should have learned that over these many years of knowing you.
And I texted you before. Make sure you say my points are great.
Always
Exactly.
good. You were talking about Giroux, though. We were talking about this before. G's 34 years old, and you look at when teams win, their core group of guys is but you're generally between 23 and 28, and they got like a chunk of them, right? And they grow together. You look at all the teams that have ever won. And G's kind of standing on his own island as this 35-year-old veteran that's 34 is still leading the charge here, but not really having that supporting cast around him. We were talking with Bush earlier, and and Bush is kind of thinks the way we're thinking now. It's almost time, like G go and win somewhere. You've deserved it. You've poured in your blood, sweat, and tears here in Philly, but I think the time is to move on. Try and get what you can in return for him, and just move on. Let him go win, or try to win, and again try and get something of value in return. I'm not sure what that looks like, but
the other thing with that is Stalker and Riles. We talked about this. So if you're gonna trade him, everyone knows you're trading him to get as much as you can.
Yeah.
I guess it could work either way, but teams aren't really wanting to help the Flyers, but getting a player like G on your team, I guess it will. But
the teams are. The problem is with him, and it's amazing, testament to his career. He's 34. He's been playing that long, but the game's changed so much during those 14, 15 years that he's been playing. It's way faster. Mm-hmm. It's a completely different game from 15 years ago. He is probably one of the best probably top 5 in the league, halfway on the power play guys in the league.
Yeah.
But is he willing to understand? Is he willing to do what Jason Spezza has done, or a Joe Thornton, and understand that you're not a top tier guy anymore? Mm-hmm. For our team to be successful, you have to be a complementary player. You have to be, you're going to get your power play time. We're going to need you here, but you're not going to be like if he goes to a Carolina. Yeah. He's not playing ahead of Aho. He's going to be playing. Right. There's every team that he goes to, I think he's going to find himself a little bit lower on the depth chart. If he, is willing to accept that, I think there's a ton of teams that would take him.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree.
A ton of teams that would take him. Mm-hmm. And he can make any team come playoff run. You don't want to take a penalty against this team because he might not be on the first power play, hypothetically.
Yeah.
But anytime he's out there, he can make something happen.
Right.
So it will be interesting to see it, but the Flyers got to jump. I think they have to do something. I know we still got time till March 21, and that's shutting down a little. But you have to start thinking that way.
Yeah,
yeah. And Stalker, to your point, if you add a player like him, I get it, he's 34, but he's in tremendous shape. He's not in shape of a 34-year-old man. I know he's 34.
He's a consistent performer.
He's a consistent performer. You add him, and like you said, he's probably any of these teams that add him, he's not going to be the first line guy. Yeah. But even throwing him on the second line, that's a pretty good 1-2 punch, whoever your first line punch is. And if you've even got a 1-2 punch already, if you have to play him a little lower, obviously he's going to get his power play time, like you said. I don't see how you don't do it if you're a team contending.
Well, it's similar to when the Carts and Richie go to LA and win a Stanley Cup. They're not going there and they're like the 1-2. They're 2-3. You can argue maybe even somewhere lower in there because they had their core guys already in place with Kopitar and Dustin Brown and whoever else they had there at the time. But I agree with that. He's the highest end player on the Flyers because they don't have a whole lot there to compete with him, even though he's consistently getting points. But he needs to go somewhere else, in my opinion, and attempt to get a Stanley Cup and then be okay with that slotting of second and third line or wherever he fits in, because I think G's attitude is good enough, man. He's a team guy. I mean, you play this game to win, right? I mean, again, you've poured everything into the Flyers organization. There's nothing wrong with going somewhere else and trying to hoist that cup.
You said something right there for me, it's something that's always, ever since they got rid of Carter and Richards, ever since they got rid of Carter and Richards, they go to the Stanley Cup Finals one year. Yeah. For there are reasons to make decisions, they did it, but I don't think they haven't really had the same identity almost, and they've been chasing that identity. they've been chasing that identity ever kind of since. And it just kind of, you talk about guys that for teams to be successful, they come up through the organization, they come up as a core.
Yeah.
And they've been kind of chasing it kind of ever since. So anyways.
Yeah.
That's so true. And then the other thing we want to bring up too, Keith Yandle, 964 games, tied for the Ironman record. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? It's insane, right?
Well, there's been some like, I can go a couple ways on this.
Yeah, I know where your head's at.
I don't know. I've heard nothing but amazing things about Keith.
Yes.
So I've heard nothing but amazing things about Keith. I couldn't get through a week of playing hockey without having injuries.
Yeah.
So to be able to go through a season and then another season and then another season and then another season and he's on defense when guys are stepping over the blue line and teeing up slap shots at you guys and not just getting through practices are hard sometimes.
No kidding.
Yeah. So congratulations on an amazing feat. So again, I've heard nothing but amazing stories about this guy. I think I might have met him once or twice, but it just, I don't even know what to say. To go, what is it, 12 years now?
Yeah, right.
It's a long time, man.
Without a hard bruise, without even, or the flu.
Yeah, I know, right?
He's avoiding COVID for crying out loud.
He's walking around in a space outfit, eh?
Yeah.
He's got
the bubble wrap,
the
hazmat suit.
Yeah, but didn't they sit him out in Florida for a game?
No, they were going to. We were talking about this, and they almost had a Rudy moment where the guys went in and told Q, you're not sitting him. He's playing. That's how good of a locker room guy he is, too.
Right,
and
it
was I think it was a really good move bringing him here for Hazy too, which we talked about. Having basically family. They're so close after a tough summer and the tragedy, and then poor Hazy's had 3 surgeries this year. Just nothing's bouncing the Flyboys' way. That's for sure.
But yeah.
He survived 900 games, so kudos on him.
It's amazing.
You know what's going to be hilarious? He's going to play tonight, you guys, right? Tonight you guys are
Islanders.
Against Islanders. He's going to get tonight's game in, and then tomorrow he's going to, on the way walking to the rink, he's going to break his ankle.
He'll get COVID.
Yeah. If he twists his ankle today, he's taping that baby up and getting on the ice, and then
one shift. Quality is one shift.
I was watching in the NFL. It was the last game of the season where a lot of teams that were in were resting players, and I want to say it was the Green Bay Packers, their center, and I'm not going to know his name, but I want to say it was Green Bay Packers, and he went in. He has a streak going, so he did the opening snap, and that was it. And then they rested him. So that's how cool.
That's cool.
Or also I don't know. Also, you guys saw Gronkowski where needed so many catches.
I saw that.
His bonus, right?
That was cool.
I love that team stuff. Yeah, I love that team stuff.
He went over to TB and said, "Hey, I need one more." Yeah. He's like, "Oh, you do? Yeah. All right." He gets him one. Yeah.
One.
For the mill. I can't remember how much it was, but
$1 million.
$1 million bonus.
Yeah, he's like, we got a milli. We got a milli. What a mess.
That shit's awesome, man.
Yeah. Oh, what a mess. Are we seeing, is Tom Brady done?
He's talking about it. I saw the thing today. I can't imagine he's done, man. He's still good.
Yeah, he's still potentially shape. MVP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's him or Rodgers, depending on. It's funny how football is Rodgers in football kind of took 3 guys a curveball. There's probably the real MVP, or it's hard because he doesn't have the weapons or stuff like that. But there's so much hate going his way right now.
God,
it's just.
It's crazy.
It's like baseball. You got so many guys that they revolutionized the game, and Barry Bonds and Clemens and some of these and Sosa and whatever, they broke all the records. McGuire, but no, they took steroids. The entire world was taking steroids.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a way that guys are getting through that. There's. Guys are using something. I'm not talking about hockey. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah.
There's got to be a secret way now. They always find ways to do things. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, Stalker, you got away with it for years.
Everywhere.
It's unreal.
We were actually, we had this conversation all the time. I was thinking, so I was oblivious to drugs just in general. I grew up near that. I didn't even know anything about weed. Didn't know anything about anything. There's a guy that I grew up that took the stuff called Agent Orange or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was
Ultimate
so I'm
Orange.
going back. I'm Ultimate Orange.
Yeah.
Ultimate Orange, and that was kind of the extent of what I knew about anything. And then when I played pro, I had never thought of any of that for a couple of years until probably my fourth year when I was, I didn't really, my skill set was horrendous, but I worked out as much as I possibly could to keep me kind of in the game. And we come in to do some of the testing. When I was in New York, I finished kind of towards the higher of part of the pack. I don't want to tell you what team I was at, but I went in and we had to do a test that had, black and gold, but you had to go in and do some tests where, you have to pick a number where you have to bench press anywhere between 5 to 10, and they give you your 1 rep max. Okay,
yeah.
So, I'm the fourth line guy. Like, I'm the guy that's working out. I'm the guy that's, that should be in better. We have a couple guys on our second line that are throwing up 305 pounds for 10 times.
Holy shit.
And I'm like, no. No. This is not right. Something is not right. That was the first time I ever really thought about it. And then I thought back in my career, but I can't really think. I took creatine twice, was kind of the extent of what I took ever. But I think back, I don't think our games ever really had that side of the problem. I don't know, Riles, if you think our games ever had, I think maybe 2 guys per team, maybe when I got out, maybe some sort of HGH, the Russians were bringing some stuff over or something like that. But I don't think our game, when you think of baseball, when you think of football, when you think of some of the other sports, you look at pro hockey players today, they look like 12-year-old boys right now, the way they're so tiny.
So
lean.
lean.
So look like Riggs.
Look like me,
The yoga. How is the yoga coming along?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, man, it's a saving grace. 3-4 times a week practice, and then I'm teaching 2-3 times a week in the heat. So yeah, man, great for the mind more than the body.
Clean
honestly.
Your chi? Clean the chi?
Yeah, move the energy there, stalker.
I thought that was Sundays with the mushrooms. I thought that was rejuvenated the mind and soul and body.
but you're going back to what you're saying, like in the steroid world, I guess there's different types of steroids for different types of, outcomes, right? I mean, you got this testosterone, which a lot of those guys were doing, beefing them up and probably stacking that with the HGH. And then you got the world of like, the Winstrol's are more like, more of a leaning steroid, right? Making you a little bit more, for cutting, for more efficiency, and for endurance and stuff like that too. But I don't think it's ever been a huge problem in the NHL. I think guys maybe have dabbled here and there. I think you could probably argue in the 80s and 90s, maybe like the methamphetamines might have been even a bigger problem than steroids were ever in the NHL. But I think, for the most part, the hockey seems to be somewhat of a clean sport, especially since we've eliminated that old school jungle of all the meatheads coming,
right. That was our only group that probably would have been in that, because it's kind of like uppers to get excited, downers after you just got destroyed, and how you gonna you did see that. But besides that, I'm pretty proud of our sport that we kind of
for sure.
Anyways, anyways, sidetracked.
No, it's good.
It's all good, man.
Insights. So. Well, I think we covered everything we need to there, Stalker. We appreciate you hopping on, and
I carried you guys. I don't want to fuck
you do. Hey, check out what's going on with Stock Talk, buddy. I've seen it. I see the merch.
So
Love it.
Thanks, buddy. We're starting back up, and it's been so many crazy things from. We're gonna do some side by side, but in Canada we can't do anything anymore, right? We can't. So it's kind of slowed down, and then I'm also working the Olympics.
Yeah, I saw that. Really cool. When I heard Olympics in your name, I'm like, he's playing. Yeah. He's coming back, because I see, I follow you on everything. I see you working out. I know you're a machine. I don't know, as big as you are now, you do, like we said, The Rock, people confuse him. Like, I don't know if you're getting through that testing for the Olympics, man. It's way harder. But I thought you were playing. I didn't realize you were going over. I'm kidding. But that's awesome.
Have you seen though, like the teams that have been put out? Like, there's a chance, Riles, that you and the 3 of us actually. I've seen D Nasty skate a couple times. maybe the third line D. He might have a chance of cracking it. Like I think the big name is Eric Stahl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's for Canada.
True.
For Canada. And
Stalzy was playing men's league earlier this year. Actually, you guys probably can't go play men's league, can you? Because there's such a lockdown.
yeah.
He's like, I got to get out of the house, but he's gonna go get locked down over there. So
yeah. So we have some cool stuff coming up. I obviously did Paul Bissonnette, who's doing some great stuff on TV. We got Sophia Yurskovic coming up, who does women in sports.
Yeah.
Speaking of women in sports, first lady referee coming up. I did stuff with Corey Hirsch, mental health, and his story is pretty amazing. A bunch of things we're going to tee up and put out. Yeah, Hershey's story is absolutely amazing. He's doing a lot of that stuff himself on kind of the mindset of a lot of things that people go through. And just so many of those conversations were taboo so many years ago when we were all younger, right? Now it's kind of everything is great for our kids because they can talk about anything.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
And that's kind of great. So they're all anyway. So that stuff, and it's coming out soon, and I'm excited about it. And thanks for having me on this one, guys.
Yeah, you got it, brother. We appreciate your time. I know you're busy, brother.
All right, boys.